Hey everybody, I'm Steph.
I'm Michael.
And today we're checking out Harrow County.
From Off the Page Games.
Yes.
This game plays interesting player count. 1 to 3 players.
Yes, it is interesting.
Yes.
But it basically in the rule says you kind of don't want to play with 3 until you're familiar with the game.
Agreed.
So you might want to play like a solo game to get yourself familiarized with the mechanics before you just jump into a 3.
Or even play, you could play both sides against yourself. There is solo mode available if you want to, but highly recommend starting off with a 2-player experience. And the playtime on the box says 45 minutes.
Yes.
So thanks to Off the Page Games for providing us this copy of Harrow County, the game of Gothic conflict. But they didn't give it to us in exchange for this video. They gave it to us because they know we like to play all the games. So let's go ahead and get right to it while I teach you all the rules. This will not have a playthrough to it.
Yeah, we're just doing that.
Just going to do a rules video.
Yep.
Partially because there's not going to be any way to give you all the rules because the rules are split up into chapters, interestingly enough. And each of these characters or legends, each of them plays a little bit differently. And it's going to play differently based on which components you add into the game. So, what you're going to do, decide who is going to be playing as Emmy and the Protectors.
Thankfully, this is a red and blue situation.
Yeah, so that's what we did. And who is going to play Levi and the family. Interestingly enough, Levi is one of my family's names.
Nice.
And I believe it was my great-grandfather's name was Levi. And I've got a card in another game that has a name Levi because of that.
Nice.
So anyway.
That's awesome.
What you're going to do, choose one side of the map, put it on the center of the table, so that a home hex is in front of each player. And here is my home hex, as you can see, from the little barn right there, and Steph's home hex is over here. What you're going to do is you are going to place one of these advanced tokens. Oh, I should mention, this is the deluxe version of the game with nice wooden bits, really nice miniatures, and
trays and stuff.
The trays and, big chunky wooden bits instead of cardboard.
And the Fair Folk expansion comes with the deluxe.
Yes. So you're going to put one of these advanced tokens onto each of these spaces. There's a little bitty sort of a silhouette of one of these pieces. You're going to place it on all of the brown lands. You're going to put a strengthened token on top of each of these wheat fields. You're going to place a legend token on top of all of the forest spaces, and you're going to place a spawn token on all of these blue spaces. You should have tokens on every terrain hex except on the mountains and the brambles and all of the hexes around the home hex. So, you're going to place 3 townsfolk on the map. You'll notice that they are red townsfolk. You're going to place them on the 3 corners opposite where the red home hex is. Similarly, you're going to place 3 of these blue buildings on the 3 spaces opposite. Oh, that must have come off. Opposite the family's home hex. So, actually, I should mention, this is considered chapter 1 in the scenario book. And again, like I say, it takes you through some of the rules. And then you're going to, if this sounds like something that appeals to you, you can read forward and learn how to play chapter 2, chapter 3. There's a chapter that has 3 players in it. And so you can go through everything in the rule book. So place your legend token, Emmy and Levi. You're going to place them on the home hex along with 3 of their haints. These haints are fantastic looking. Not sure that detail shows up on camera, but man, this is the family's haints. Hey, Salt, this does look
It
harrowing.
does look harrowing.
And the red haints, these are fantastic. I
They're
should
awesome.
say.
They're awesome.
Um, you're going to put 3 haints along with your legend. The scoreboard goes off to one side. Set each player's score to 0. As you see, as you get points, you're going to rotate the little dials around. You are going to ignore these spoons for chapter 1. But you'll see that these spoons spin around from 1 to 2 to 3 as time goes on. I believe that's introduced in chapter 2. Then you're going to equip your legends. Legend ability tracks have 2 sides. As you see right here, you're going to place them with this side up, and for the protectors, you're going to place it with the path side up, where you have 4 path tiles. So, Emmy is going to place 3 of her path tokens on her spaces on her legend chart, and she's going to have 1 path space available to her ready to be used. The family is going to place all of these cool storm tokens. And these are cool little painted wooden bits as well that you are going to place onto the board. You'll notice that 2 spaces already have storms on them. Even without me placing any on the board, they're just printed onto the board. The family has a nice blue draw bag. You're going to place 4 advanced tokens, 2 spawn tokens, and 2 strengthen tokens into the bag. Emmy does not get a bag, nor does she get tokens.
Aw.
Well, sorry. Each player takes 1 wild token into their possession as well. Put your 4 mason jars like so. It's helpful if you place them across from one another like this, though you really don't have to do so. As soon as 3 of these are used in a round, that will signify the end of the round, and you'll get access to all 4 mason jar actions again. So, the tree is how you're going to resolve combat in this game. So, you're going to take this tree, and since it's quite green, you can see that the green screen is having a little bit of issue with it. You're going to place 3 cubes for each player onto the battlefield. Notice that there's space for 6 cubes on each side. By the end of your turn, if you have more than 6, you're going to return them back to your possessions. Now there's more room here, and the reason for that will be made known in a little bit. But this is a really interesting part of the mechanisms. So this is the game box. Whoops, I did not know you had placed that on there already.
Yep.
So this is the game box. They have already cut a hole in the box, and there's a little ramp right here. You might say, well, what is that for? That is a dice tower in the box. So you're going to place the little funnel, which this is what you start with. You're going to create it like so into this little, looks like a little grain silo funnel, and you're just going to place it up top. So, and whenever there is a battle, you're going to take these cubes, you're going to drop them into the top, and not all of them are going to come out, as you can see.
That was like 3 of them?
We got 4, 3 of yours and 1 of mine. So I'm going to shake all of ours out.
You should leave them in there.
So, Super
I
interesting.
think cube timers are great.
I agree. So, we're going to start off with 3 on each side. Give the first player token to the protectors. That's this little lantern right here. And then play can proceed. What we're going to do is we are going to take 3 alternating turns each by flipping over these mason jars and taking those actions. Then we're going to do a phase 2 where we're going to do scoring and round reset. So whoever's taking the turn, it is whenever the rule book refers to a turn, that is one person doing an action. And whenever the rulebook indicates a round, that is 3 of these actions, and then the scoring and reset. So, um, so the person with the lantern will activate their first mason jar. Then I would activate my first mason jar. Second, second, third, third. We're going to check for brambles because you're going to get a bonus if you have control of the brambles. And then you're going to see if the end of the game is triggered. Then refresh the mason jars. So let's talk a little bit about those actions in detail, because that is where the majority of the game lies, is in these mason jars. The 4 mason jars that you have the abilities mason jar, the wild mason jar, the legend mason jar, and the attack mason jar. So um, as I mentioned before, there are 3 abilities in the game with these tokens. They're the same tokens I've put in my bag: Advance, Spawn, and Strengthen. Both the protectors and the family are able to do Advance, Spawn, and Strengthen. But as this is an asymmetric game, it's highly asymmetric in that they do it a completely different way. Notice my family board has 2 rows, 2 longer rows. You've got like a 3x5 grid over there. And spoiler alert, when you play with other different groups like Hester or Cami, then you're going to even have altogether different ways of doing things. I think it is rather clever how they've got all of this set up. So, and the with the some of the other expansions could increase all of the options even more. So, um, if the protectors are going to use the Mason abilities jar, then she will choose which ability she wants to activate this turn: Advance, Spawn, or Strengthen. So she's going to activate her ability that she chose up to the value according to the number above the rightmost token of that group. Steph, if I could see the protectors over here, as you can see, there's already 3 tokens printed on the board. She's got 3 Spawn, she's got 3 Advance, and she's got 2 Strengthen. But if she were to place tokens onto these spaces, notice these are the dual layer board, so she can put more tokens into these spaces, as you can see, and they're not going to wobble around. Then that number is going to increase the more tokens she gets. So if she chooses to advance and her advance token is under a 4, she's going to have 4 advance this turn. And so that's going to be how she moves her figures around the board. When the family activates the abilities mason jar, the family is going to draw tokens based on the highest number on the faction board with a token below it. So as you can see, there are spots to do. Oh, I should be using the other side, I believe.
Yeah, because we don't get cards in the basic game.
Because I don't get any cards. See, I see the cards here.
Yeah.
I should be using this other side. So spoiler alert, we played Chapter 1's heroes and Chapter 2's rules. So we use some of the cards and the dual layer board. So hopefully
Yeah.
I don't totally mess up these rules. Okay, as you can see, I've got a 3 here. So I get to draw 3 tokens and place them out. So I'm going to draw 3 tokens from my bag. And that is going to be what I do whenever I do my abilities. Now, Steph is doing one concentrated action. I'm doing a lot of little things, and it's whatever randomly comes up. So if I draw out 3 tokens, you'll notice I've got one wild, not really a wild token like this, but one of anything. And it looks like I drew an advance and a spawn and a strengthen. Looks like I got one of each. So I could do 2 of one of these and then 1 of the other ones. So, and then I can play those tokens in any order. So, it costs you 1 advance to move 1 or more units from a hex to another hex. So, if I wanted to move all 4 of these units, it cost me 1 advance, and I go just like that. And that costs 1 advance. However, if I want to move to the mountains, that's going to cost 2 advance because you're going into the mountains. Cost 1 extra.
It says it on your player board as well, for me anyway.
Yes. Yeah, you can see that it costs, is it here or?
See, it's when it's the movement when you move
yours
to mountain.
right there. Yeah, there it is. I see. Move to mountain is
And then mine's
is
move
+1.
to storm. It will cost me as well.
Yes. So these storms are going to come up onto the map. If Steph wants to move into a storm, it's going to cost her 1 extra. It's not going to cost me any extra. I can move through storms without any problem. But Steph has trouble moving through the storm, so she has to pay 1 extra. If the storm were on a mountain, yes, indeed, that's 1 for the movement, 1 for the storm, 1 for the mountain. That's 3. So, keep in mind, as you're moving along, let's say I have a situation like this. I could go 1, pick up the extra haint, 2, and move the entire group like that. You cannot choose a group and use one movement to do 2 separate ways. This would cost 1 movement. This would cost a separate 1 movement. So let me put all of these back. So, also, there can only ever be a maximum of 4 units on a hex. There's also, that's one of the main 4 core rules to the game, is that you can never have more than 4 on a hex. Here are some more rules. The storms and townfolk can never be on the brambles. Can't have that. A blue piece can never be with a red piece. And conversely, a red piece can never be in the same hex as a blue piece. That also counts for these townsfolk. My blue pieces can never share a space with the townsfolk, and Steph's pieces cannot be in any of the hexes with a building, because although this is not a blue unit, it is a blue piece. So let's see here. You can also drop off units if you want. So if I wanted to leave some haints back, I could go 1, 2, 3. If I wanted to do that and drop off a haint along the way as I go. So, the spawn ability, it will cost you 1 spawn to add 1 haint, either to where your legend is or to your home hex. Keep in mind all normal hex space limitations do apply. So I could, if I've got 4 units already in a hex, I cannot add a haint to that hex. Um, you can also obviously never spawn where there are enemy units. So the strengthen is the little wolf's teeth. Um, Strength plays a big role in combat. Um, the protectors will refer to their strengthen track and place that many strengthen cubes on her side of the battlefield. The family is going to add 1 strengthen cube for each of the strengthen tokens that I pulled out of the bag. Notice that, like I mentioned, there are 6 slots. Remember, by the end of your turn, you want to have fewer than 6, or otherwise you're going to have to discard down. Finally, let's see, that was everything with the abilities Mason Jar. And you'll flip that over to the blank side showing that's been used. Let's talk a little bit about the wild mason jar. That's how you get these wild tokens and also how to use those wild tokens. Each player starts with 1 wild token, so the first time you take this action, you are going to gain. The first thing you always do is to gain a wild token. Now I've got 2. Now I can do any 2 wild token actions: an advance, a spawn, or a strengthen for each wild. That doesn't mean I have to take 2 of the same action. I could take 2 different actions. The third time I take that wild action, which won't be until next round, obviously, is I'm going to have 3 wild tokens and take 3 wild actions and so on. Let's talk a little bit about the Legends Mason Jar. Oh, I should mention, these never go away. You keep accumulating them. You don't spend them. So, talk a little bit about the Legends Mason Jar. When you choose this one, you are going to activate your Legend ability. Notice that my Legend starts off with one of those Legend scroll icons, which means that I'm going to be able to do this Legend action. When I acquire a second legend token, that unlocks the next level of my legend action. So this legend token lets me activate whatever my legend ability is and my legend's unique power. You'll see this ready for more ability. Move each of your haints onto or off of an adjacent hex. That matches the terrain that Levi is on. So if Levi's on forest, I can move each of my haints either onto a forest or off of a forest. Makes it really interesting. So, protectors have those 4 path tokens. The path tokens are really useful for the protectors in that those path tokens, when she puts a path token on a hex, then that movement becomes a 0 movement instead of a 1 movement.
That's really good.
You use that to great effect when you played.
And they help get these guys home.
Yeah, so spoiler alert, she's trying to get these townfolk back home. I am trying to get storms in a path from my home to these buildings. Now, here's the thing, those buildings don't move. Those townsfolk can move. So, let's say I put a storm down there. Hey, how many movement is that now?
1.
That is 1 movement. So it will decrease it by 1. So and it can go from a 1 down to a 0. So that's pretty cool for the protectors. Um, Obviously, if a path token is placed on a mountain on a hex with a storm, then um, if you do it onto a mountain, then you can get onto it with one.
Yeah.
But if I put a storm on there, then that's going to be 1 plus 1 minus 1.
Yep.
So
2.
and she can put multiple path tokens on the spaces to lower that movement if she wants to. However, she probably wants to make a path. That's why they're called path tokens to these protectors. The more legend ability slots she opens up, the more path tokens she's going to have available to her. So,
seems like something I want to do.
Whenever she chooses her legend mason jar, she can also take away path tokens she has placed, or she can leave them alone. And let's say that Steph has 3 path tokens and she used them over here to give her quick and easy access to this townsfolk. And she's already taken this townsfolk. And she's over here now. When she invokes her ability, she can literally pull these up and put them on the other side of the map. So that is super useful. And the family's job is to slow them down, especially with those storms. So, um, at the start of the game, the family has the ability to place a storm token on a hex. With at least one of their units on it. As you can see the iconography, one of my units put storm onto that spot. And remember, the storms don't slow me down.
Right.
And obviously, I cannot put a storm on the brambles in the center of the map. With 2 legend ability tokens, in addition to pulling an ability, with 1 legend ability token, I can pull one of these ability tokens on the map 1 space closer to the storm that I just placed. The ability token doesn't have to be pulled into the storm, but it can just be pulled 1 hex closer. It could be pulled onto a space with another ability token, or where there is a friendly or an enemy unit. Not that I would want to do that, because that makes it easily available to you.
Right. So, no, don't do that.
If I have 2 ability tokens, in addition to placing a storm and pulling one hex closer, I can also pull a friendly unit 1 hex closer to the storm I just placed. And finally, with 3 extra ability tokens, you see I've already got 1, so if I had 3 more, I've got access to everything. I can place a storm, pull a token, pull a friendly unit, and pull an enemy unit 1 hex closer to the storm. I did mention Levi's special power to move the Haints onto or off of an adjacent hex that matches the terrain that Levi is on. Emmy's power is to place cubes from her possessions onto every hex with any Haints and no red cubes on it. When Emmy moves into one of those hexes, or when units in these hexes are attacked, she gets to add the cube to the battleground immediately. So these are cubes in your possession, just all of the ones that are available to you. And again, these are super nice trays in the deluxe edition. Highly recommend. So that's how she can quickly get cubes from her tray onto the board and into the battlefield.
Seems like I want to do that.
You actually did do that.
I know.
Spoiler alert. So, the more cubes that are on the battlefield, the more cubes go into the dice tray, and the more cubes come out whenever whenever she attacks. So that brings me to my next point, the attack mason jar. Whenever you choose an attack, you also get to take a free advanced spawn or strengthen, as you can see from the top here. Hey, Time Roller Ridden with a party of 11. How you doing? What were you streaming? I saw you were on a little bit.
Hey, Raiders.
So, what you're going to do is this free action that you take can happen either before or after your attack. So let's go over what happens during an attack. First, you're going to identify the attacking hex, and it must contain, obviously, at least one of your units. So let's say I've got a situation like this going on. Obviously, I can't be in the same space, but I could attack one hex away or two hexes away. If the attacking units are on a mountain, get this. The mountain gives a +1 range. I can attack 3 spaces away.
It makes sense.
It really does.
You have high advantage.
So, if the place you're attacking contains only haints, obviously I'm attacking a haint. If it contains only a legend, I'm attacking the legend. If it's a mix, I have to kill the haints before I can kill the legend. We got some focus issues going on, Steph, if you can take care of that. So, whichever player has the most units, which in this case is me, then I'm going to earn an additional strengthen cube to add to their side of the battlefield. And now, if this puts me to 7, that's okay, because it's not the end of my turn yet. So, then you're going to take all the strengthen cubes from both players, and you're going to put it in the tree, and whatever spills out is what happens. You're going to compare the attacker cubes with the defender cubes. And so sort out everything so you know what you've got. If the attacker has the same or more cubes than the defender, and the attacker has enough cubes to complete the attack action, then the attack is successful. It costs 2 cubes to complete an attack on on a target on any hex other than the Brambles hex. So most of the combat's not going to happen on the Brambles. So if I've got 2 cubes, I can eliminate one. Now, let's say that she was on the Brambles. It takes me 1 cube to eliminate a unit in the Brambles. Why? It's hard to defend when you're being stuck by Brambles.
It's definitely true.
So, if the target was a haint, I get a point. And I remove one of your haints, obviously. If the target was a legend, what's going to happen is, let's say I was attacking you here, then I push the legend to any adjacent hex. Obviously, I cannot push to somewhere that already has 4 units, and I cannot push you onto that building because that's red plus blue, can't do it.
Right.
So,
right.
And in addition, I remove 1 enemy haint from anywhere on the battlefield. Anywhere. So even if the battle's taking place over here, I could remove a haint across the map. So, and that will give me the 1 point on the score dial. If the defender has no more haints, then the attacker still gets the 1 point, even if there's no haint. So you can't really game the system by just not having haints on the map. In any case, I would not recommend that. So, if Emmy is attacked and the opponent chooses to remove a haint from a hex that has a red cube on it, because of her unique power, remember, anytime a space with one of these red cubes is attacked, Emmy's special power takes effect. And the red cube will not get added because this hex was not targeted. I targeted her, I pushed her, I took this one off the battlefield. I did not attack that space.
Right.
Normally, it would get added to the battlefield. If I attack this haint, then yes, this would get added to the battlefield. So, the attacker can keep attacking as long as they have at least the same number of cubes as the defender and has the required number of cubes to complete the attack action. And we're still using the same attacking and defending hex. For example, if you want to go haint, then Emmy, for example. So just discard the number of cubes and do the attack action. If fewer attacker cubes fall out, then the attack is unsuccessful. But a haint clash can be initiated if there's at least one haint on the attacking and defending hexes. So here's what a haint clash does. So let's say these guys are going after these guys here. With the haint clash, not only do I have a chance of eliminating her, she can eliminate me as well. If there's only a legend, obviously you can't haint clash because it is called a haint clash and not a legend clash.
Right.
But what you're going to do is you can spend, as you can see from the battlefield, you can spend 2 cubes to eliminate a haint. And each player can kill a maximum of 1 haint in a haint clash. Now, special little twist. Let's say I'm attacking from the mountain up here onto these haints. I can attack her haints. She can't attack me back. Why? You're not on the mountain. You don't have the range. Range is, remembered, 3 from the mountain, 2 from not on the mountain. Someone says, you playing Catan? Nope, this is Harrow County. So, once the attack is completed, make sure all the cubes are back on the owner's side of the battlefield. Then the protectors will get to decide to use an advance action. If they wanted to do it before the attack, they could do that to get into range, for example. Just in case combat is difficult for anyone to follow, there are 4 different outcomes in the rules that really do help. So, once you've attacked in a round, and remember a round is 4 mason jars, not just one. Let's say I attack with my first mason jar, right? Notice the backside of this mason jar is another attack. If I want to, on my next turn, I can flip a different mason jar. Let's say I don't want this one. I can attack again, but without all of the extra bonuses and stuff. So,
yeah, and I think in chapter 2 they introduce a row of bonuses in the middle. So if you're first to do an action, you get a small bonus with it. So,
and that will make a difference sometimes. You're like, oh, what do I want to do?
Yeah, for sure.
So, after you've completed your mason jar action this turn, check your cubes, make sure you have fewer than 6, and then this is the really cool part of this game. If you are in a hex with an ability token, then you can collect the ability token in your spot. So even if it's just a haint, these haints, you can send your haints out. Remember I said that you could just drop these dudes off? You will collect all of these tasty ability tokens. And you want to do that before your opponent does.
Yeah, you need to get those.
And I worked hard on doing that.
Yeah, and I worked hard to put out cubes.
Yes, you did. So, on the protectors, She will get a path token every time she gets one of her legend ability tokens. All of her other ability tokens will just go on to the next spot on her grid, going from left to right, which is going to level up each of those abilities. Obviously, Levi will make his storms stronger with those legend tokens, but all of the other tokens are put with, let's say I use these 3 tokens this turn, and then I acquired these 3 more tokens this turn. This is the really cool part. I get to decide with all of these here, I get to decide whether I put it on the next empty space on my faction board, which will level up how many I can pull. As you see, starts off 3, 3, 4, 4, 4, 4, 5, 5, 5, 5, 6. So the more of these I put here, the more tokens I'm going to pull. But also, maybe I don't want to move. Maybe I want to strengthen and spawn. I want to put those in the bag. So you have a large amount of control over what goes in the bag and therefore what will come out of the bag that you can use on your turn. So then you're going to attempt to complete your objectives. The family wants to destroy Harrow County, and the protectors want to rescue the townsfolk of Harrow County. So, as Steph mentioned, she is trying to save her townsfolk. If she has a unit or a path token where there is one of these townsfolk, then she can move that townsfolk for free to that hex as long as there is a unit or a path token on the next hex. Like so. You see, she's got a line of units and path tokens just like that. So, townsfolk, never on the brambles. So, the townsfolk movement, let's say I did something like this. The townsfolk movement, not messed with by storms. So you can just go right on through. The family wants to destroy Harrow County buildings. So, at the end of my turn, if the legend is not on a space with a storm, boom, I get this for free. For free, which is awesome. If placing a storm on a hex makes a contiguous path that connects a hex with a building with the home hex, you have destroyed that building. So get rid of that building. For every townsfolk she rescues, 2 points. For every building I destroy, 2 points. So then we're going to do bramble scoring and the round reset. Check the brambles. If whoever has a unit at the end of a round, not the end of a turn, at the end of a round, if you have a unit on the brambles, you're going to get 1 point. Then you're going to check to see if a player has scored enough points to win the game. If you have 7 points, you have won. And I think you beat me rather significantly, like 7-2.
Killed ya.
I
Protectors.
I was having a really rough time getting my storms out there.
You had all of the tokens though.
I did. I had a ton of tokens trying to keep her actions down.
Yeah.
Ultimately, it did not work. Then we're going to switch the first player token. She will give it to me. So that will rotate. Now, keep in mind, that means I got the last turn in round 1. I'm going to get the first the first move in round 2. And if I remember correctly, you use this to great advantage on our game with your round 2 to round 3.
You got to take advantage.
You have to. The final thing is you're going to refresh your mason jars, turning them all back upright. So they're all able to be used again. That is chapter 1 of Harrow County. Chapter 2 will include things where the family can upgrade their tokens. So when they draw them out, maybe multiple things happen, like advance and storm. That's pretty awesome. The protectors are going to get, you might be able to see them over here, these cool upgrade cards.
Tactics cards, so like they will add hints to the board or give me extra range or relocate things, or so there's lots of cool abilities.
Yes. Chapter 3 is going to include these 9 really cool bonus tiles. Oh yeah, I think that this is what we were using for that middle part.
Yeah.
Maybe we did use some chapter 3 stuff
We
because I do remember this.
We definitely use these because we were using the spyglass to gain points.
Were.
So I remember doing that.
So, you can add those rules as you go and learn a little bit more as you go through it, or you can just pile them all on all at once like we did, and ultimately each of those chapters will have, I guess, their own victory condition, though maybe it does only go up to 7. That said, these score tracks, they go up even higher than 7, so I think that there's a lot more story to be told in Harrow County.
For sure. I just wanted to mention the deluxe components are on the back. So the velvet bag, the 3 dual layer boards, wooden tokens like the legends, the 69 ability tokens, the mason jars, the wilds, the bonuses, star player, legend powers, storms, paths, dolls, bonfire, and then also obviously the expansion.
Yes.
So all that really nice quality. I would definitely say deluxe is worth the look. Um, so yeah, lots of gameplay here. If it's something you want to dive into and play through with like the same people and you kind of know play strategies and stuff, I think will be good. Love a cube tower, so that's like super fun.
So one of the main things that I often say is that for game companies that decide to include lore and everything and try to make us want to care about the characters, and I'm usually like, I'm all about the theme most of the time, except when it comes to lore, I'm like, nobody cares about the lore. I do want theme, nobody cares about the lore. The Harrow County lore is rather interesting.
It feels thematic.
Yeah, I mean, it really does. So in with this game, I'm not all about, oh, nobody cares about the lore. I'm like, this is something that very few people have done. This little place, Harrow County, middle of nowhere, witches, a family that wants to kill the members of Harrow County because they are witches, or what happened. Let me give you a little bit of backstory. If I remember this right, and this has been about a year, and this is how good the lore is. If it's been a year and I still remember this lore, it's pretty good. It's like there was a witch, and she gave birth and hid the kid in a tree, in a little hollow of a tree. They found the witch, killed the witch, and then they raised the little baby who becomes Emmy, and she protects the other citizens of Harrow County. The family's trying to rid the world of witchcraft, so they are the good guys on their side. And Emmy is trying to save the people from being unjustly persecuted as witches, so she is the good guy on their side. I guess the family would probably be more bad guy than good guy, but at least there is, I think even with TV shows, you have to make bad guys make logical, rational decisions as to why they would be bad and not just because they are a bad apple. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So they think they're getting rid of the witches, and the witches, whether they're witches or not, are trying to protect the townsfolk. I think it's a fantastic story. Very compelling for me, anyway.
Cool.
So, yes.
Yes. Yes. Nice.
Anyway, be sure.
You guys enjoyed that.
Yes. So be sure to check out Harrow County from Off the Page Games.
Yeah.
And if you enjoyed this rules teach and you enjoy rules teaches and playthroughs, we've got 1,500 of them over on YouTube. Go check out our channel at Board Gamer Steph. Or even better, you can join us live on twitch.tv/BoardGamerSteph, where we stream live every Wednesday and Sunday night at 5 p.m. Central, and we stream 3 games or more every single stream. So come join us on Twitch, where we play all the games.
And for those on Twitch, we'll be right back.